Okay, welcome to part 1 of this series. In this video we're just basically going to start making the RSS system. There's no file structure to explain as there is usually because of the fact that this is continuing from the blog tutorial, so any file structure is explained in there. The only two files we're going to be editing is this RSS.php which I've just created. It's currently blank, and this blog list which we created at the end, at the start I think, at some point in the last tutorial. So I've got both of those open in my editor. Well, it's not the RSS page isn't completely blank, it's got some PHP tags, and then blog list here is basically the HTML page that we created before. So I've got this open here in my browser as well. You see that the RSS icon has now gone, so the first thing I'm going to do is add the line of code that adds that back, and then we're going to be done with the blog list. So as you may have noticed, I've also got the RSS Wikipedia page open. The reason for that is I wanted to look up the MIME type, which they have here, and also it has an example of the structure of an RSS feed. So we're going to be copying this later and then making it dynamic. So the MIME type is the thing that I need, so I'm just going to highlight this, hit copy, go back to our page and our code. So just here below the meta tag I'm going to add a new link element. The rel is going to be alternative, spelled right, like so. The type is that MIME type that we just copied, so I've just pasted that there. The title is the title of the feed. In this case it's going to be this. Blog, just can be anything really. And the href is the link to the file that sort of supplies the feed, so in this case it's going to be rss.php. Okay, so if I go back to our page and hit reload, the page doesn't supply a valid RSS feed, so at the moment this button doesn't appear. But we can cheat by browsing to it directly. So if I just delete this and type, it's here, isn't it? So I just click on RSS. So you see the RSS page currently generates a completely blank page, which is to be expected really. So the information we want to display as part of our feed is the posts. So from the blog list page, remember we use this get posts function to get the posts, so we're going to be doing the exact same thing in our RSS.php file. So the first thing we need to do is obviously include the init file, so we can do that now by including core init.inc.php. There we go. And then the next thing we need to do is get the posts. So if I just do posts equals get posts, there we go. So now just to demonstrate, if I do print_r of posts and reload our RSS page, you see we get this array information printed out. If I just view the page source, bring this down here, then you see we get the sort of output of all the posts. So there are currently 2 posts, so we get this information, and this is what we want to display as part of our feed. So like I said before, I'm just going to go back to our Wikipedia page and scroll down to the example and copy this whole thing into our page. So I'm just going to stick this at the bottom here, like so. A few problems. These sort of 8 spaces need to be replaced with tabs, just for neatness really. So I'm just going to quickly do that. The reason I just showed you me copying it was to sort of demonstrate that you don't have to know everything. In other words, you wouldn't have to particularly know the structure of this RSS feed. It's fine to go to the internet and copy the structure and just use it. So just do the last one. There we go. So that's the tabs neatened up even. So what we need, actually I can just demonstrate this. If I just, delete this print_r because we don't need that anymore. And the other thing we need to do, because we're outputting an RSS feed and not a HTML document, we need to specify the header for the content type. So we're going to do that here, just using the header function. I've done this before as well, covered this before, so I'm not going to explain it in too much detail. So what we're setting, the header that we're setting is the content type header, and we're setting that to the MIME type of the RSS feed, which if you remember from Wikipedia again was application slash, oops, okay, RSS plus XML. That should be a plus. Okay, so that should now output a valid RSS feed, although admittedly at the moment this isn't for our data. So I'll just refresh this page. You see we get my RSS thingy popping back up, and if I just go back to our blog list page, the icon hasn't appeared. How curious. Oh, I don't know why that is. Well, let's sort of carry on and maybe it'll... Okay, hang on. Yeah, that looks fine. What have I done? I'm a little bit confused. I copied the MIME type, the title. Oh, well, maybe the... Okay, well, I spelled alternative. Oh, right. Maybe. Let's see if that fixes it. It did. Okay, weird. This rel should have been alternate. No, learn to speak. Not alternative. Sorry about that. And that seems to have fixed it. So there you go. So yeah, now we've fixed that little stupid bug. Then the RSS button appears. Clicking on it redirects us to our RSS.php file. So now that that's working, I can close this blog list file because we don't need it anymore. So just close that. Okay, so the only file we're going to be working with now is this RSS file. Actually, just thinking about it, one problem that you might have is that the default configuration of PHP uses this as a sort of alternative version of this tag. So you may get syntax errors, like unexpected string from this XML, and if that is the case, you will need to do this. Actually, there should also be a new line. So you'll have to output it with PHP if you have short open tags on. But as I don't need to do that. It's just something you might run into. It's quite a common problem, really. If you've configured PHP in the same way I have, using my configuring PHP basics video, then this should not be a problem. So what we need to do is change this information to make it a bit more dynamic and actually relevant to our site, our blog even. So the title is not RSS title, it was the same title we had before, which was this, I think. And the description is just sort of some text to describe the blog. So PHP, whoops, that should be lowercase, tutorials blog, I don't know, that could be anything. And then the link is a link to the sort of site where you can view this information. So in this case it's our blog list page. So I'm just going to type in, obviously this will be different for your site because I'm using sort of my local testing server. So you'll have like a nice domain, not an IP address. And this is tutorials/blog/bloglist.php. Learn to type. There we go. So that's that added. The pub date is something we don't need, so I can just delete that. And the last build date is also technically optional, but just because it's dynamic, it sort of makes sense to supply the current date as this field. So I'm going to delete the content of that. I'm going to use PHP here, so I'm going to open up some PHP tags, and we're going to output the current date, so only supplying the first parameter to the date function, and the format that we're going to be using is R. And if you go to the php.net page and for the date function obviously, and scroll down to the bottom of the list of sort of strings you can supply, R is like a full date format string, and it'll match this format. So it just saves you having to type out, like, look up the date, the thingy, the string character from like the day, then the day in numeric, then the month and the year, then the time and all this stuff. So R is like a shorthand for all of this. So now we have this, we need to output each of our posts inside this item tag thingy. So I'm going to bring this down a new line, and we're going to open a new PHP block. And in here we're going to have a for each loop. This is going to be for each posts as post. And then inside this block we are going to use some, well, we're going to be using this. So I'm going to tab all that across, and we're going to be outputting basically that for every one of our posts. So in here now we will output this example entry for each of our posts. So if I reload our feed, hit reload, you can see the things that have changed, like the blog title has changed, and now we have this twice because we had two posts. So in here we need to sort of use this post array in the same way as we did when making our blog list file. So the title is now in the post title sort of element, so we can just do echo post title like so, except again typos. The description, we're going to be outputting the preview here. Remember, the preview is the first 512 characters from the post. So the idea is that people will see like a little preview of it, and then they'll click on it to go to your site and view it properly. So that is echo post preview. And the link is a little bit more complicated. That is a link where they can view the post. And again, if you remember back to our blog list page, these linked to well, actually I can sort of show you. If I just open blog list back up, you see the links were blog read and then the ID in a get variable. So what we could actually do is just copy this whole link and paste it in the link sort of thing, and then we need it needs to be the full link. So now we can copy this part here and paste that at the beginning. So that's the full thing that we should end up with. This GUID we can just delete because we don't need that. And the publication date is the date the blog was posted. So again, back to our blog list file, you remember we had the date string. Now this does not output the correct format. If you remember, if I just go back to our blog page, we were outputting the date in this format. So we need to convert this format to the format that the RSS feed expects, which is that date R that I mentioned. And the way we can do that is by using the strut2time function. And what this function does is converts a string, like, well, actually let's just do echo, oops, PHP tags, echo post date. I'm going to type one line without any typos at some point. If I just reload, if I just go to our RSS page and view the page source and bring this down here, you see now we have the date in this format and we want it to be in this format. So I'll just close this source window and go back to our code, wherever that's gone here. So if I just do echo strut2time, and I'll demonstrate the same thing, hit save and reload and view the page source, wherever that's gone, bring this down here. So now you see that we have a number, sort of timestamp, and you will also notice that this date appeared, although that's obviously not quite right. And also you notice that before the date wasn't there when the format wasn't as it seemed to expect. So it seems that the format has to be in this R format, which is fairly fine really. So we're just going to use the date function on here, and the format again is going to be this R string, and the second parameter now we're passing is the result of this string to time function. So I just close this like so and hit reload. You see now we are getting the correct dates, and these are linked. If you look at the bottom of my browser window, these are linked now to the sort of correct places. So if I click on one, you see we get to the page we created before, and the same thing happens for this. So that's actually pretty much the end of this. Oh, actually I did say I'd explain what an RSS feed is. It is on Wikipedia, so you can go and read that if you're that interested in the technical side of it. But basically you can subscribe to it, like I could click the subscribe button, and then updates will be sort of pushed. Not technically pushed, but they are, like your browser will check for updates, or your feed reader will check for updates and notify you, and you can sort of go on it and check and go, ooh, updates. One last thing we could do, if I just view the page source now, you can see that the format of this is not quite as nice as it could be. This item should be left one tab. So what we can do is go back to our page, remove this new line and add a new one here. And if I view this source again, do this quite quickly, I'm running out of time. See, now we get a nicer format. Some feed readers are a bit picky about the format you give them, so that might be something to look out for. Okay, so that's the end of this video and series. I finally managed to make a video series in one part. So thanks for watching, and join me next week for something else.